When you look at your organization and its future, and you think about a successor to the position that you currently hold, are there any names in particular that come to mind when you identify talent and you think, hey, these are good potentials to lead the EFF in the future?
The student command. That's why we have a student command. That's where you breed your second and third layer leadership. So we will not run out of leaders in the EFF. There's huge potential.
The same student command whose future you said you would bring before conference to debate and which you described as useless.
Absolutely, because the EFF's birth to the student command was as a result of teenage pregnancy. It was premature. But what do we do to children who are a product of teenage pregnancy? You don't kill them. I'm saying it was premature for us to form an EFF student command because we are still forming ourselves. We are not a fully fledged organization. And I was raising that in the context of the formation of the Women's Command and the Youth Command. Now there is a demand for union. I was saying, what's going to happen with the formation of so many organizations when you yourself are not fully formed? We have a student command here. The branches they have are the branches that were launched by us. They've never grown beyond that. They can't print T-shirts for themselves. They can't organize meetings of their own without the mother body. They can't travel to campuses on their own without the mother body. I've led a student organization, COSAS. I led the Youth League, which assumed a life of its own and became a political party within a political party. I know what a student organization is capable of, and I do not see that in this student command. And I didn't say this in a press conference only. I said it in the conference of the student command in front of them. And I was saying to them, your conference should then come up with a resolution that says, in response to what the president said, we want to do the following to prove to the president that we are relevant. They have won victories before, but they are only existing in popular campuses. I want them in villages. I want them to help a poor rural child who's financially excluded. They are here, they are not going anywhere. But I'm going to be very critical of them, and I'm going to raise issues to provoke a debate in the EFF so that we can be taken head on. They responded, and they are fighting for their space. They say, no, you are wrong. This is why we are relevant. This is what we have did. I like that. When I said the Women's Command must be formed because it will help us to mobilize more women into the EFF, we have a problem of women in the EFF. Siko responded and said, you are mad. We don't need Women's Command. If you are going to give us Women's Command, then there must be Men's Command as well. It's a debate. They say, no. A huge article, the communications manager defies Malema because this dictator, when he has spoken, everybody must follow. When people try to show you that it's not like that, we debate here, you say, he's being defied. What must we do now?
So then it sounds to me that, because what you said, I believe it was last week, on the past couple of weeks, about the student command, really put it in a position where their future beyond conference would have been uncertain. I wonder today, your critique is a bit lighter than it was a couple of weeks ago. Is it because of the kind of response that has come out of the student command, who have not been afraid to take you on, even publicly?
I'm also not scared of them. Me, I'm not scared of nothing. I don't care who said what. I don't scare nothing. You will hear my critique of them in my political overview. I'm not scared of nothing. Student command won't remove me, for instance, as a president of the EFF. They only have 2 people in the conference of the EFF. It's not a conference of the student command. It's a conference of 90% branches of the EFF. So maybe I will be scared now. They will not vote for me. Secondly, they do not vote in the EFF conference. So when you say, no, it is because of their critique that you have toned down, as if their critique will mean you lose vote, and because you want to be voted, you have changed. No. Me, I'm not scared of nothing. I don't care who you are. If I've got a view, I express it. If it gets me into trouble, so be it. That's what I think at the time. I can be persuaded differently. I formed the student command. I launched the student command. I launched their branches. I campaign for them in campuses. They are not going anywhere. But I want a different type of a student command that has got teeth, that bites, that exists in the rural, remote campuses and help an African child. I don't want student command that is being used as a step ladder for people to go to parliament. No.
It's interesting that you should speak about the student command in the form of being used, because, of course, in the last week, when there was a protest to petition the president on the release of Khanya Xakeshe, that particular march in itself was interpreted by some in the organization as a display of the factional politics that are at play. So tell us about what you know about the so-called amatrokisi and amapiano, as we've been told.
I missed the march of Khanya Xakeshe. I don't know what happened, and I can't speak about things I know nothing about. There are no such things in the EFF of names that you have called, because I was saying to some comrades that, you see, when you are in the EFF and then you start grouping yourself and you give yourself names, it means you have lost faith in the brand EFF. So you are now borrowing other names to reinforce that brand. It's unnecessary. Contest each other without giving each other labels and believe in the brand EFF. You will never have problems. I don't know Matorokisi, Mapiano, I don't know where their head office is. We are presiding over the EFF. Its head office is in Braamfontein. And I'm the president of that organization.
Going forward then, you've touched on the student command. When it comes to the women's command, of course, you've yourself have highlighted the extent to which you don't enjoy support among women. Yes. You've given us some of those statistics and what the breakdown looks like. Why do you think women don't seem to be resonating, that your party is not resonating with women in particular?
I don't know. We will have to find that out, because we are one of the most progressive parties when it comes to issues of women. We are led by women. We've got 50% representation of women. We've championed the interest of women, including rural women. And it is going to be interesting in the conference as to what are the attributes which leads to the EFF not being attractive to women, despite it having people's base, yet is still not attractive to women.
When you look at some of the cases that are currently in court, we have the assault case and the discharging of the firearm case against you. There's an assault case for your Deputy Floyd Shivambu and other members of the EFF that have also been caught up in those legal battles. All of them, the common trait that they have is violence. And I wonder, given the fact that South Africa is such a violent country and the majority of those who are at the receiving end of that violence is women, do you make a connection at all between some of these cases and incidents and perhaps the reason why your message or women are not responding to your message in the way that they could be, especially if your policies are so pro-women, as you put it?
Our violent response to any situation was a response to violence. And we're not going to respond it with roses. And if that is not attractive to a woman, it's unfortunate. But we're dealing with racism here, we're dealing with capital here, we're dealing with a hostile regime, which is violent and used violence against us, even in parliament. Yet, we're expected to respond differently. I mean, the ANC is the most violent organization. The ANC has got a history of violence. The ANC had an armed wing called Mkhonto Wesizwe, yet it attracts women. So when you say violent organizations do not attract women, why did the ANC attract women? Why did the ANC have women soldiers Who said women are scared of violence? Women are the most powerful people who are not scared to engage in violence when the need arises. So the EFF is not engaged in any violent activities which have not been experienced before with other political formations which enjoy the support of women. The most violent regime, apartheid, enjoyed the support of white women. So to say because of violent cases, EFF is not enjoying support of women is disingenuous. It's unscientific if you give the history of other political parties and their violence.
We're nearing the end of our interview, Julius, and I wonder then, as you go into this conference, you are looking at a situation where some of the cases that you're facing in court will continue. You don't know, as you told us earlier, whether there will be new charges brought against you or not. What is the policy of the EFF around its leaders who are facing charges within the criminal prosecution system?
I'm facing charges of the EFF. What do you mean? I've got cases of the land. Those are EFF cases. The allegation of firearm at an EFF event is an EFF case. There's no case of Malema having stolen bread and ate that bread with his family. All of them are political cases, and the EFF policy on leaders who are facing charges is very clear. They are innocent until proven otherwise. We have a constitution in this country, and that constitution must be followed.
Do you think that that's a position that you would hold so clearly when it comes to how that would translate itself then in the form of national politics and even being a national government?
Well, the conference will reflect about it and say if it wants to take other measures outside what the Constitution of South Africa provides. Let's say, for instance, Jeff Makubo in Johannesburg. I've got a right, South Africans have got a right to say, even if you're not proven guilty, the allegations are so serious, therefore I won't vote for you. But I can't stop him from standing. No, I can't. That will be unconstitutional. Or the candidate himself or herself will use their conscience to then say, I'm not available given these allegations, let me sort them out. Those are the extra measures we can take. We have a recourse. The question should be, do we have a recourse? If the answer is yes, then let's use our recourse. We have a right to withdraw our votes for people who are facing serious allegations, or the people who are facing the serious allegation themselves can use their own conscience to decide not to avail themselves.
Are we at the end of the road now that you bring Jeff Makubo up, where the EFF will vote with the Democratic Alliance?
No, we vote with people who vote with us. We are not going to vote for people who don't believe in us, who reduce us to subordinates. So we're not going to do that. We want to govern. Why? We want that experience. The only criticism that appeals to me as a person and a leader of the EFF is the one that says, but you don't have experience. Everything else, I think we've satisfied it. Even this conference will prove to the doomsayers that this is a solid organization, but there's something missing in the whole scheme of things. It is this puzzle called experience. We need that so that we can show our people what an EFF government looks like.
All right. Mr. Malema, let me thank you again for your time and for granting us this interview. So then the Congress of the EFF getting underway on the 13th of December. And of course, we'll have the latest coverage on how it unfolds right here on Newsroom Africa.